The morning of Friday, March 3, 1876, dawned over isolated Bath County, Kentucky, without a single cloud in the sky. Outside her farmhouse, Mrs. Rebecca Crouch was engaged in the arduous process of making soap. The overnight chill was burning off, leaving the valley in a brilliant, unclouded blue under a light westerly breeze. Sometime before noon, the quiet frontier scene was shattered. Without warning, a series of wet, heavy snapping sounds began to echo across the property. Chunks of raw, red animal tissue fell directly from the heavens, striking the grass and dirt with distinct, fleshy splats. This top-down view shows the specific scale of the event. The shower fell almost exclusively over a pasture measuring 100 yards long and 50 yards wide, right next to the Crouch home. The falling debris varied in size. Some pieces were snowflake-sized, while others were 4 inches across, roughly the length of an adult hand. Mrs. Crouch's 10-year-old grandson, Alan, looked up at the blue sky and remarked that it was snowing. Terrified, the two of them grabbed hands and fled for the safety of the farmhouse, hiding inside as the downpour pelted the ground for nearly 2 minutes before stopping as abruptly as it began. In an isolated 19th-century settlement, a storm of raw flesh from a cloudless sky defied all natural logic. For the deeply religious locals, the physical impossibility of the event sparked immediate dread. Neighbors looking at the bloody debris scattered across the fences and grass feared they were witnessing a biblical plague or a terrifying supernatural omen. News of the bizarre weather event spread through the county within hours. Curious neighbors and local reporters flocked to the Crouch farm to inspect the property, finding chunks of spoiling meat draped over fence posts and scattered through the pastures. Frontier forensic analysis relied entirely on the senses. To identify the mystery substance, a handful of local men decided to test the raw meat by putting it directly into their mouths to sample the flavor and texture. The resulting testimonies were contradictory. A local trapper examined the fat density and identified it as wild bear. A professional butcher named L.C. Frisbee chewed a raw specimen and reported that it tasted like veal or lamb, noting that it secreted a strange milky fluid as he chewed. Seeking a botanical explanation, a scientist named Leopold Brandeis analyzed preserved samples and declared the substance was nostoc. This is a genus of cyanobacteria, often called star jelly, that lives in the soil and swells into green gelatinous masses. Brandeis's theory ignored the actual weather conditions on the Crouch farm. Nostoc requires saturating rain to hydrate and swell into those jelly-like colonies, but the Kentucky sky had been completely dry for days. With frontier logic exhausted, the investigation moved from the farmyard to the laboratory. The mystery required formal examination by experts, with the tools to look beyond the surface of the tissue. Chunks of the biological debris were preserved in alcohol and shipped across the country to top histologists, specialists in the microscopic anatomy of biological tissues. Among them were Dr. Alan McLean Hamilton and Dr. A. Mead Edwards, who analyzed the specimens. The microscopic view revealed a chaotic mixture of internal anatomical structures. Rather than a single source of food, the analysts identified a shredded collection of fragments consisting of striated muscle, cartilage, and lung tissue, all tangled together. The limitations of 19th-century microscopy created a disturbing histological dead end. Dr. Hamilton noted that, at a cellular level, the structure of the lung tissue was effectively indistinguishable between an equine source and a human infant. The discovery replaced supernatural dread with a tangible forensic horror. The diverse mix of tissues suggested an entire carcass, an unburied horse or deceased infant, had somehow been shredded and dropped from the atmosphere. To explain how shredded organs could fall from a clear sky, a chemistry professor named Dr. L.D. Kastenbein proposed a theory that shifted the focus away from the farm and toward the birds flying miles above it. He pointed to the specific behavior of the black and turkey vultures native to Kentucky. Because scavengers never know when their next meal is coming, they gorge themselves on decaying carcasses until they are too heavy to achieve rapid liftoff. When a gorged vulture is threatened on the ground, it utilizes a powerful evolutionary defense mechanism. The bird will projectile vomit its semi-digested meal to shed massive amounts of body weight, allowing it to take flight instantly. The highly acidic vomit also serves as a potent deterrent for any approaching predators. This survival tactic provided a rational mechanism for the incident. It is an involuntary biological reflex capable of launching shredded, acidic internal organs into the air. The biological evidence suggests a clear reconstruction. High above the pasture, a massive flock of heavily gorged vultures was soaring on thermal updrafts. Startled by a strong wind or a localized disturbance, one of the birds triggered its defensive regurgitation reflex. Vultures are social creatures, and seeing one bird purge often triggers a synchronized mid-air mass regurgitation in the rest of the flock. Caught by the prevailing westerly winds, the slurry of lung, muscle, and cartilage drifted down over the farm, covering the land in a rain of shredded meat. Physical evidence of this occurrence is still preserved today. A piece of the original fallen flesh, suspended in a glass vial of alcohol, remains on display at Transylvania University in Lexington. The 1876 Kentucky meat shower suggests that we don't need supernatural omens to be unsettled. The survival mechanisms of our own ecosystems are weirder, grosser, and more fascinating than any myth.